Hi guys, my name is Shani and I have an eating disorder, and this is my YouTube channel where I talk about my eating disorder. I take you through my journey to find recovery for my eating disorder. I educate people on eating disorders. I bring awareness to eating disorders. I get people talking about eating disorders, and have I said eating disorders enough? I don't know, but I'm about to say it again because chances are if you're watching this video, that means that you have a child who's going through an eating disorder who does not know how to tell you that they're going through one. I had a lot of requests from your children to do a video with me talking to their parents for them and saying those words first, because that's the hardest part, is just getting it out at first and admitting that you have a problem. And I do want to point out that I am not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I am just somebody who has a lifetime of experience with eating disorders, but I'm not like a professional, so don't think that this is professional. It's almost better that this is like a personal thing. Like, I can actually tell you how our brains are thinking and things like that. Like, a lot of therapists can't do that. So like I just said, your child has an eating disorder, and before you freak out, calm down. Don't like send them to a mental institution. Don't like be calling eating disorder centers. Just wait a minute. Let's talk through this first. Okay. So the first thing I want to say is that when my bulimia part of my eating disorder was outed, if you will, it was probably the most embarrassing, if not, yeah, probably the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to me. And I wanted to share it with you because it's a very good example of what you shouldn't do if your child comes to you and tells you that you have an eating disorder, or if you find out that they have one and they didn't tell you, because that's how my mom found out. So anyway, here's my story. So when I had BED, binge eating disorder, when I was 5 years old, all the way until I was 13 years old. And when I was 13 years old, I started binging and purging, which is where, because I was already addicted to food from all of the binge eating disorder, and I was really overweight as a child, and I just was so addicted to food that I couldn't give it up, or I felt like I couldn't give it up. And so at age 13, I kind of figured it out that I could just purge my food. I could throw up, I could eat whatever I wanted and just throw it right back up. And it was horrible, and it caught me so quickly. That very first decision to throw up was a choice. But it didn't take longer than an hour after that until it set in as an addiction. I wanted to do it again over and over and over. And since then, for the past 18 years, it's been that. And that's sad, that sucks. So anyway, when I was 13, right after my bulimia started, my parents had gone through a divorce, and it just was a really difficult time in my life. And I had been abused as a child, things like that. I was over at my sister's house, who had recently gotten married, and I used to go and hang out with her and her husband, and we would play games and have dinner together and watch movies together and things like that. But one night I went over there for dinner, and I ate dinner, and I went to the bathroom to throw up. And while I was throwing up dinner, I all of a sudden hear the door just barge open. My sister, like, I don't know how they got the door open because I locked it, but it just barged right open, and there stood my sister and her husband watching me purge. I literally had my fingers in my mouth, and I had puke all over my hands. It was dripping into the toilet. It was disgusting. It was so embarrassing. And then the first thing my sister did was ran and got the phone and came back and watched me while she called my mom and said, "Do you know what your daughter's doing? She's gonna come home and you're gonna need to have a talk with her because this is what she's doing, blah, blah, blah." She explained everything she saw. And the thing is that I want to make it really clear that neither my mom or my sister had any idea of how to handle the situation, obviously, which is another reason that I am doing these videos, is to try and help people understand that it can make such a big difference from how you treat somebody with an eating disorder, whether they get better or they get worse. And for me, I got worse because of how it happened. So after feeling so freaking embarrassed about that, not only did my sister, but my brother-in-law saw me throwing up with puke all over my hands, and it was awful. I went home, I got grounded, I got a talking to, I basically got in trouble for all around. I got in trouble for everything. The thing that I really wish my mom and my sister would have known back then, but again, they couldn't have known. Don't go like saying mean things about them in the comment. They could not have known because nobody freaking talked about it back then. But now that's why we're talking about it now. So, but anyway, I really wish that I hadn't gotten shamed for it. I wish that they would have told me that they were, I wish that they would have just told me that they were there for me and that they love me and that they know that I can get through this and that they are there for me and that they're there to help me through it. Because it's not like it's a sin. It's not something that's bad. It's not something to be grounded for. It's not something to be ashamed of, because it is an illness. It is an actual illness, just like a cold. You go to the doctor for a cold and get an antibiotic. When you have a mental illness like an eating disorder, you go to a therapist and talk it out or get medication for depression or anxiety or whatever goes along with it. Like, there are tools that can be used to help somebody with an eating disorder. So with that being said, I want you to pause this video and ask your child which eating disorder it is that they're suffering from. Oftentimes it's multiple eating disorders at once, or at least multiple eating disorder behaviors at once. So I want you to pause the video and ask them, and that's the only thing that I told them they have to do in this video, and I'm really hoping that you parents out there can kind of pick up the slack and really get them talking yourselves, because that's what they need. They need to get started. That's why they asked for my help. So just be very patient, very kind, and pause the video and go ask them what eating disorder they are suffering from. Did you do it? Are you done? Okay. So the types of eating disorders are anorexia, bulimia, EDNOS, which is eating disorder not otherwise specified, and that's kind of like the worst one, because you have like different kinds of symptoms and different symptoms from different eating disorders all in one, and so it's really hard to diagnose one set eating disorder. And then there's other eating disorders too, like over-exercising, being obsessive about other diets, like obsessive diets. Like, there are all kinds of eating disorders, and binge eating disorder is an eating disorder that thank goodness is being brought to light recently. Like, people are really talking more about how binge eating disorder is an eating disorder. If people just eat and eat and eat and gain hundreds of pounds, like, that's an eating disorder as well. It's not just about being skinny. Sometimes it's about the food. Sometimes it's about control. There are so many reasons that people can have an eating disorder. So whichever one it is that they told you that they have, I'm just going to ask you to patiently research it with them. Maybe sit down as a family with or just the three of you, or the two of you, or however many of you there are, and kind of research about the eating disorder. Find the dangers of it. Find helpful tools. Find things that you can do to help them get through it. Because what I would suggest is to do that, because that's what I did and that's what my husband did, and that helped me a lot when my husband did that. And my mom, since I've done this eating disorder channel, has done so much learning and so much, and she now knows that if she ever had another child, which she won't because she's been through menopause, but anyway, if she had, then she would know what to do now. And so I'm just trying to prevent what happened to me from happening to your child. So it's very important not to shame them. It's very important to tell them every day that you love them and that you believe in them. It's very important to hug them and tell them that you love them. Give them physical contact. It's very important. As you know, hugs can be the gateway to something so connectedness. I'm really good with words. I don't know why your children like watching me. Like, I forget words all the time. But that's because I didn't pay attention in school, because I have an eating disorder. Because when you have an eating disorder, you lose brain cells and you lose the ability to remember things and to pay attention and so research what eating disorder is it that they have. Research about it. And the other thing that you have to be aware of is the dangers of it. Like, that's the biggest thing that my channel is about, is bringing awareness to the dangers of eating disorder. Very, very, very often, if it's a teenager age type of a child that has an eating disorder, they could also be cutting, which is where they cut their arms and legs with razors or glass or whatever they want to cut it with. That's called cutting. That's called being a cutter. Like, there's an actual word for it. I don't know if you know about that. You might want to talk to your child about that as well. That's extremely dangerous, because obviously you could cut in a vein that could bleed out and they'd be dead in minutes. Like, it's a very dangerous thing. The other thing that can happen, like I just talked about, you lose like so many brain cells. You're not able to concentrate. You're not able to remember things. You're not able to do very much at all. You risk depression and anxiety and agoraphobia, which is where you don't want to leave the house. You don't want to be around a lot of people. You don't want to see a lot of people. So bottom line, best thing that you can do for them right now is to recognize how awesome it is that they are brave enough to show you this video and to come out to you and tell you that they have an eating disorder. First of all, recognize that. Recognize that they had to be so vulnerable to do this, and it's extremely embarrassing to talk about in the beginning. It's extremely scary. You don't know how people are going to react, especially your parents or your caregivers. You just don't know, and it's so scary. And so take their vulnerability right now. Go give them a hug right now. Hold them. Tell them everything's going to be okay. Tell them that you are going to find a way to get them through this. And once you get through talking about everything, once you've talked about what kind of eating disorder they have, why they think they're doing it, and they might not be able to answer that right away, and that's okay. But just, it doesn't hurt to ask. Maybe they already know and they just need to tell you. Who knows? Like, every situation is unique. All eating disorders are similar, but every single case is different. Everybody's different. And so really just take the time, spend an hour with your child at least, and talk to them and ask them when it started, how it started, where it started, why they think it started, all those things, and learn about it, research it with them, talk about it openly all the time. And then call after that, after it's all settled and after it's all kind of sunken in with you and everything is a little bit less tense, I guess. Then go ahead and look into finding them a therapist. Maybe get them into the family doctor right away, which would obviously be easier than getting into a therapist right away, because you can go to a family doctor as well and just tell them that this is going on. What can you do to help me? Does she need medication? Does he need treatment? Like, what does my child need? I don't know. If you don't know, if you are one of those parents that knows what to do, then good for you, do it, and that's awesome. I don't really need to say anything to you. But for those of you who it's just foreign to you, you don't know a lot of why eating disorders happen, then please take the time to learn and take your children to get help, and then find out if they do need therapy, if they do need to go see somebody every week that they talk to, try and work through their problems. I certainly had to do that. I've been in therapy on and off for the past 18 years since my bulimia started, and it helps immensely if you can afford it. That's the only reason I'm not going right now is because of the money, and I know it's expensive, but it's worth it because it could save your child's life, obviously. And you don't want them to fall into other addictions as well, because chances are if they have an eating disorder, they already have an addictive brain, and that makes it that much easier to fall into other kinds of addictions as well. So it's really, really dangerous. It's really scary, and it's very sad, and it's very hard to talk about. So to those of you kids out there who asked me to do this for your parents, I am so proud of you. I'm gonna cry. Like, I can't tell you how proud I am of you and how much I wish I would have had your strength enough to, even if it is just turning on a video of somebody like this that tells you to do, that tells your parents that you have an eating disorder. Like, even if it's just that, like, that's incredible, because you are giving up your secret. Eating disorders thrive off of secrecy and loneliness. And the fact that you are giving up your secret, the fact that you're letting this out to the people who mean the most to you, to the people who take care of you and who love you and who have raised you, means that you are stronger than you think you are, because it takes a lot of guts to do that. So I'm very, very proud of you for that. And to you parents out there, please be patient, please be kind, please don't punish them, please don't shame them, please love them and hug them and let them know every single day that you are there for them, and prepare yourself to have a lot of patience, because this disease is not easy to deal with. And my husband will tell you that, my parents will tell you that. It is not an easy thing to deal with, but it is possible to deal with it. It's possible to get help. It's possible to get better. These children just need to be heard, and you can be those ears for them, and you can be their support and their love instead of their judgmentalness and their meanness and their shameness, their shamingness. So I hope this video helped, and I hope you can turn off this video and go and have a long talk with your child, whoever showed you this video. Please hear them out. Please listen to what they're going through if they're ready to talk about it. If not, then give them their space and let them know that you are there when they're ready to talk about it. So Okay, so I hope this helped you guys, and thank you for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. And remember, as I say at the end of all of my videos, this goes to all of you children and all of you parents out there as well. You are beautiful, you are worth it, and I am too. Thank you for watching. I'll talk to you later. Bye!